Before the initial release of Death Note, it actually had a pilot story, and that story is what we are going to be talking about in this video. Now, the world building, it is the exact same world that we live in. But there is only one exception, and that exception is the existence of God of Death, or we also know them as Shinigamis, and their world, and also the existence of Death Note. Now, this is the story which convinced Shonen Jump to add Death Note to their roster. Without this story, the original Death Note wouldn't exist at all. This story starts off with Ryuk, the god of death, dropping his notebook into the real world. Now, what's the difference between Ryuk and other Shinigami is that he's extremely bored in the Shinigami world, and he actually does something about his boredom. In the story, as we know, the Shinigami world, it is nothing but a barren wasteland, which is actually decaying, and the purpose of Shinigami is to kill humans by writing human name in their death note, and that is the only way that they can survive, and that is how they expand their lifespans. These are the similarities between the pilot story and the main story. Now, as Ryuk drops the death note, it is picked up by a 13-year-old named Taro Kagami. A 13-year-old death note user, this story gotta be interesting. As he sees the book, he's way too young, and the only word that he notices is note. So he just grabs the book and assumes that it is a regular diary. And when he goes home, he thinks of something, and that something is writing in that diary. Now, what he writes in the diary is about the story of him getting bullied in the school. Maybe writing that down would make him feel a little bit better. That is what he thinks to himself. Now, according to Death Note and the way it works, he unknowingly killed 2 of his bullies. So on the next day of school, it is announced that the 2 bullies that bullied him, they actually died, and so there was no one to bully him. Now this kid, he just figures out that something is not right, something is missing, and something is wrong. So as he goes home, he finds an English dictionary, finding the meaning of the word death. As he finds out the meaning of death, he's utterly and completely shocked. So yeah, it is true, the Death Note actually works. Now, not long after these deaths are confirmed, the police comes home to the 13-year-old boy to investigate, as naturally anyone who was bullied was actually a very huge suspect. The detective tells the boy that there have been cases in which people have died in very convenient times due to heart attack. So Death Note being in human hands, it was proved that it existed and it wasn't a work of a Shinigami before. The detective mentioned that this case happened 25 years before this story started. Now, as Tada arrives home, he's greeted by none other than Ryuk himself. Now, the job of a Shinigami first is to explain the rules of Death Note to the user. In this pilot story, the rules are kinda different than the main story. And one of the great examples of this case is the Death Eraser. Now, the death of these 5 bullies is tearing Tada apart. He is having nightmares and he's living in constant fear. And the guilt of him being a murderer is kinda taking over his soul. But there's no need to worry, as Ryuk pulls out an eraser, which is actually complementary to the Death Note. Now, the way it works is if you erase the name of a person who died in the Death Note, that person will be brought back to life. Only if his body is not burned or decayed, or it's still intact, its organs, and it is still in living condition. Now guys, imagine if this was a real thing and this was used in the actual storyline. Imagine all the smart ways that Light Yagami could have used the Death Eraser to win against L and to use this as his advantage. Now in the main storyline, the rules were changed. The rules were, once a person is dead, they can never be brought back to life. This eraser is only exclusive to this story and will never be seen again. So Tado just uses the Death Eraser as he had no intention of killing anybody and he was just writing a diary. He didn't know the power of Death Note. He actually felt sad and guilty. However, this story doesn't end here. No, wait. Ryuk actually dropped another death note nearby. This notebook was actually picked up by someone who is in the same school as the main character. Now this kid's name is Miura, who is the same age as the main character. Now this kid is a psychopath. He goes on a killing spree. He kills everyone who ever questioned him. He killed all the 5 bullies in the school. He killed the police investigators and even the people on TV who were discussing this cause of deaths. Now this evil psychopath kid, he's now about to write the name of main character Taro himself. Now guys, let's talk about the sponsor of this video. I'm kidding, I get no sponsor because I have no subscribers and no viewers. Haha, jokes on me. So where were we? Yeah, the name of our main character was gonna be written in the death note, but as he's about to write the name, Taro, knowing that everything that was happening, he figures out that it must be Miura. Now just before, as he was gonna write the main character name, he just comes in and he just saves himself from being killed. And before any more damage is being done, he erases the names of all the people that were killed in the death note. So all the people who were killed were resurrected and brought back to life. They both decide that they will hand over this death note to police. Our main character, knowing that this book would be destroyed, they both only give the second death note, which was dropped by Ryuk. The main character keeps the original first death note dropped by Ryuk to himself, and 7 years later, Death Note has now become a myth. There was news channels running and everyone was debating about how this thing existed or how the deaths occurred. Now 20 years old Taro is just laughing about the rumors. Now this is the end of story. The story ends with a 20-year-old Taro having the death note in his possession. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video, share this video, subscribe and comment what you think about this story. And also click on any of these 3 videos right now. Click it, click it, click it now. What are you waiting for? Just click them. Click them. Click them now.